Get ready to recap all the latest breaking news of January 2023. In this compilation video, we'll go through the most talked about events happening around the world in the last month. This is Facts Studio News Block. Let's begin. Kevin McCarthy is finally elected Speaker on January 7, 2023. Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, became Speaker on the 15th ballot. And after almost 4 days of voting. This was the longest Speaker election since 1859, and 5th longest in House history. There has been 127 Speaker elections since 1789. A nominee needs a simple majority of the House members voting. Members of Congress can't be sworn in until there's a Speaker. Classified documents found in Biden's possession. During 60 Minutes interview from September last year, Biden called Trump irresponsible for having classified documents at his house Mar-a-Lago. It appears that Biden was also in possession of classified documents from his tenure as the vice president. The president's personal attorneys found documents on November 2, 2022 at Penn Biden Center, which the president used from mid-2017 until he began the 2020 campaign. The National Archives were notified and took possession of the documents the day later. According to CBS News, the matter is currently under the investigation. Elon Musk claims title of largest loss of personal fortune, according to Guinness World Records. Twitter and Tesla CEO's net worth dropped over $180 billion since November 2021, the highest amount in history. Forbes reported Musk's estimated net worth declined 57% from $320 billion in November 2021 to $137 billion in January 2023. The previous record, set over 2 decades ago, belonged to Masayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank. He lost $58.6 billion in year 2000.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
The former President Donald Trump announces his 2024 presidential run. Trump first won the presidency in 2016 against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In 2020, Donald Trump lost his bid for re-election to Joe Biden. If elected again, he would become only the second president to retake the White House after having been ousted, a feat achieved by Grover Cleveland in 1892. U.S. Navy vet Taylor Dudley released from Russia. Taylor Dudley was freed from Kaliningrad, Russia, where he was detained in April 2022. Dudley's release was secured by former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson and his organization. The negotiations with Russian authorities were going on for 6 months. The 35-year-old was greeted by his mother after crossing into Poland and is on his way home. The circumstances of Dudley's detainment remain unclear. Attorney General Merrick Garland appoints special counsel. White House lawyers found another stash of classified documents at Biden's home in Delaware. Attorney General Merrick Garland on Thursday appointed a special counsel, a former U.S. attorney, Robert Hur, to investigate President Biden's handling of classified documents dating back to the Obama administration. The Justice Department escalated it to a special counsel investigation from a mere review after a second stash of classified documents was found inside the garage of Biden's home in Delaware. Dems joined GOP in vote to block Biden from selling strategic oil reserves to China. The bill was brought up by Republicans after the Biden administration's decision last year to sell nearly 1 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to a U.S.-based company owned by China. The House passed the bill in a 331-97 vote. Every Republican and 113 Democrats, which is more than half of the House Democratic caucus, voted for it. It was the second vote this week that saw large numbers of Democrats help House Republicans pass legislation. Businessman and former kickboxer Andrew Tate arrested by Romanian authorities. Andrew and Tristan Tate were arrested on multiple charges, including human trafficking and forming an organized crime group. Romanian police discovered and seized 11 luxury cars that were owned or used by the suspects. The brothers were initially held for 24 hours, but a Romanian judge extended their detention by 30 days. Greta Thunberg detained at German coal protest. The Swedish activist was detained after a group rushed towards the ledge of the Garzweiler mine. where they were protesting to stop the abandoned village of Luxorath from being demolished by the mine's expansion. Police told the BBC News Thunberg was not arrested and would be released after they checked her ID. Federal Aviation Administration is investigating a near collision on JFK Airport. The Delta plane was preparing for taking off when American airline plane had crossed its runway. The incident was quickly noticed by the ATC, who canceled Delta's takeoff clearance. Pilots performed a successful rejected takeoff. The Delta plane stopped about 1,000 feet from where the American plane had crossed, avoiding a potential tragedy. Yeti Airlines plane crashes in Nepal in a worst air disaster in 30 years. 2 Americans and 2 U.S. permanent residents were on board the Yeti plane that crashed in Nepal, the U.S. State Department confirmed Wednesday. The Yeti Airlines flight from Kathmandu plummeted into a gorge in the foothills of the Himalayas Sunday, killing all 72 on board. Nepal is considered one of the riskiest places to fly, because of its difficult terrain and bad weather. We are deeply saddened to hear of the tragic Yeti Airlines crash. Our thoughts are with the families of those on board. Alec Baldwin faces charges after fatal Rust movie shooting. New Mexico prosecutors announced that Baldwin would face a criminal charge of involuntary manslaughter in the death on the set of the movie Rust. The movie's assistant director David Halls allegedly handed Baldwin a .45 revolver, telling him that it was cold. Baldwin has maintained that he did not pull the trigger of the gun, but only pulled the hammer back as far as he could, and released it without pulling the trigger. Small aircraft catches fire after crashing on highway northwest of Houston, Texas. The plane crashed around 11:30 a.m. in the northbound lanes of SH-99 in northwest Harris County, according to Texas Department of Public Safety officials. The plane is a 5-seater, single-engine aircraft manufactured in 1960, according to Flight Tracker FlightAware. No injuries were immediately reported, and it's unclear how many passengers were on the plane. The NRA challenges Illinois gun ban. The National Rifle Association filed a lawsuit against the state of Illinois over its recent unconstitutional gun control law. The Illinois Senate passed a legislation banning so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines from being manufactured or sold in the state. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the bill into law, prohibiting the sale of semi-automatic rifles and .50 caliber guns. The law also requires residents to register their banned firearms. Andrew and Tristan Tate appear in public for the first time since their arrest.
Gentlemen, ask the police what evidence there is against me. They have nothing. Ask the police what evidence they have against me.
Yeah, the Matrix is trying to frame me, but God knows the truth. There's no evidence in my file because I've done nothing wrong. Everybody knows I'm innocent. It's okay. Everyone knows I'm innocent.
There, cockroach, box in your file.
Everybody knows I'm innocent.
The brothers were brought for another questioning to the local police department. Judge ruled they will remain in the custody of the Romanian police. Donald Trump's ban on Facebook and Instagram to be revoked. Meta announced the end of its 2-year suspension of Donald Trump's Facebook and Instagram accounts. The U.S. president was indefinitely suspended from Facebook and Instagram after the Capitol riots in January 2021. Israel-Palestinian conflict. Fears of wider flare-up after deadly Jenin raid. This is the most deadly Israeli raid into Jenin refugee camp in nearly 2 decades. 9 Palestinians were killed when troops reportedly encircled buildings amid a storm of gunfire, grenades, and tear gas in the packed urban camp. Drones attacked a military plant in Iran's central city of Isfahan, Tehran said on Sunday. Iran claimed to have intercepted drones that struck a military industry target near the central city of Isfahan, and said there were no casualties or serious damage. Drones delivered by Iran are used by Russian army during war in Ukraine. Air Force General Mike Minahan predicts war with China in 2025. Minahan predicted that fighting will come after China takes advantage of the U.S. being preoccupied with the 2024 election to take action against Taiwan. There is a high possibility of Chinese interference with Taiwanese elections, and if that fails, they may resort to a military invasion. Representative Michael McCall, Republican Texas, said the odds of this are very high as long as President Biden is in office. More explosions in Iran's military bases noticed on Sunday. Conservatives challenge Biden's gun ban in Texas court. The lawsuit, filed in federal court in Texas, challenges the move to treat the guns like short-barreled rifles, a weapon like a sawed-off shotgun. The case against the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives argues that millions of people have guns with the braces and use them to make firing more accurate and safer. At least 3 million guns with stabilizing braces are in circulation in the U.S., according to the ATF. Other estimates place the number much higher.